So we have no plans for this evening, other than Mike said, "Sure, let's do a just chatting thing," and Dirk said, "Yeah," or vice versa. I forget the order. And I went, "All right, I'll play Bloodstained tomorrow."
Oh, you started playing Bloodstained again?
No, the other one, Ritual of the Night, the actual
Okay.
Metroidvania modern one, not the 8-bit one. That was Curse of the Moon.
Right.
But it's really good. The first night I streamed it for 6 hours without realizing it. Almost 6 hours. Although one of those hours kind of doesn't count because I died to a surprise boss and lost about an hour because I hadn't saved.
Oh.
And then it turns out I went into the room on I think it was the lower left, and that's where the boss was. It turns out the room in the upper right was a save room. So, great. Thanks for the clearly posted, "Hey, there's a boss in here, stupid," game. I appreciate you.
I'm surprised there isn't clearly posted, hey, this is a save point, stupid.
I mean, if you go in there, it's a save point. It's like, oh, hey, look, a save point.
Hmm.
But I didn't go in there, so I was like, let's go this way. Mistake. But that's okay. Now I save constantly. I'm like, okay, let's go. You know what? Let's save first. I think I saved something like, I don't know, 6 or 7 times, possibly more, in the next like 3 hours that I played, as opposed to the twice I think I'd saved before that. Like, nope. Fool me once. I suck at this game. Fool me twice. I'm just gonna stop playing. So, but no, it's really good. I mean, it's if this is what the later Castlevania games became, I need to play them too. Cause damn. Because for those that don't know the story, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is the result of a Kickstarter, sort of like Mighty Number Nine. The guy Iga, the guy behind the Castlevania, the later Castlevania Metroidvania style games, wanted to make Castlevania game, and apparently that's not a thing that crap. Who's that? That's Konami, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's not a thing that Konami's interested in doing anymore. So he said, "Oh yeah, well I'll go make my own Castlevania game with blackjack and hookers." And he fired off the
Matter of
Kickstarter.
fact, I don't need blackjack.
I mean, there might be blackjack. I don't know. I've only played it for 6 hours, but um, the one that I played before, which is Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon, was a stretch goal, and it's a like a 2D, 8-bit style Castlevania game, but with modern design sensibilities. So while it was hard, it wasn't douchebag Nintendo hard, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But Ritual of the Night it's really good. So instead of hunting vampires and monsters, you're hunting demons. You know, like here, you can copy my homework but change some of it so it doesn't look like you copied.
Yeah.
And your main character Miriam is awesome, and most, if not all, of the enemies that you fight have some percentage chance to drop a shard. And shards are either magic spells or abilities or passives or whatever that allow you to do things. Like one of my favorite spells is summon Flying Piggy, where you point. The right stick actually points her arm, and you point and hit the button, and she fires off the Flying Piggy in the direction that you pointed, and it bounces around and damages enemies. And I'm like, oh my god, Flying Piggy! And all the different weapons that you can find feel different. Like, short swords feel different than shoes, feel different than whips, feel different than knives, feel different than broadswords, feel different than. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's really cool.
I
Awesome.
played a little bit of it, and I completely agree with the aesthetic of like her shoes, like different weapons move at different speeds, and you kind of do figure out which one you're more comfortable with, and you can learn more combos with each weapon. And
Yeah.
I didn't play much of it, but
Yeah, I saw that you were showing. You played it, what, the beginning of the month or something like that? Or beginning of last month, something like that? And I was like, yeah, Dirk's playing this. Or Dirk has played this. But
I agree. It's a very fun game.
It's really good. And then I was, when I got done streaming, I raided a guy who was also playing it. And he had a shard from an early enemy that I didn't get that now I'm going to have to go back and grind for because it's amazing. The big knight thing that's in the boat that has the big spiked ball that it slams down on you, Dirk. Yeah, that thing gives you your own spiked ball that has a massive like AoE, and I went, oh, I want that. I'm gonna have to go fight a whole lot of Dullahans until I get it, because holy crap. So yeah, there's something in it for it's very anime, but you can skip all of that if you want. Not like very anime, but there's a lot of person on one side of the screen who is an anime character talking, and then the other one talks on the other side of the screen, and then back and forth and back and forth. One of them has their hand on their hip, and the other one has too many pockets. You know. And then I found Todd, and I gave myself a purple dress and ginger hair because Todd is a good killer barber, and he's how you customize your character. Now that my dress is purple, is the best game ever. 20 out of 10. Will continue playing. Because purple.
Of course. Yeah, I went in on the Kickstarter, but I still have not tried playing the game yet because I am the worst.
Also that, yeah. Also, hey Donovan Bain, thank you for that, was that follow earlier? I think? I got an email, and I went, well, that's random, because it was like the middle of the day. But thank you. Draconic said I got a corn pancake. Turns out it's literally frozen sweet corn glued together in a mat with what I assume is some sort of some form of sugar, because it's really sweet. Too sweet, in fact. Ugh. That doesn't sound appealing at all. Yeah. Oh man, you guys know what I'm doing tomorrow?
What's that?
I am going to get a haircut.
Wow.
Yeah, for the first time since I think March of 2020 that someone else cut my hair. Yeah. I did give it a cut in let's see here. When was that? Oh, about a year ago it looks like. Yeah, beginning of August last year. Wow. So my hair's been growing for like unchecked for a year. And the top and one side has been growing unchecked for a year and a half. Awesome.
Gosh.
Which is why I'm shaggy as hell. Which is why I can't take it anymore. I'm actually gonna go see the guy who cut my hair for like the first however the hell many years of my life. Because mom and dad still go to him for haircuts, and they're like, he asks about you every time. And I would rather go to someone else than to like go to Great Clips and be like, hey, what do you think I should do? Because they're going to be like, get a fucking haircut and pay me. I don't care. So...
Particularly the more expensive one.
So, yeah, I'm going to go to someone who's knowledgeable and experienced and, yeah. Stylish? Jimmy was always very stylish. And Pinball Witch through 10 bits says, Chewie, you're more of a Velma. I don't get it. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing?
From what I know about the internet, being a Velma seems like a good thing.
Fair enough. I mean, I always dug Velma. Oh, yeah. Oh, I said I was Shaggy. I'm more of a Velma. I mean, Violet did say that she was tempted to tell me I should get a lesbian haircut. Maybe I am more Velma. But see, I couldn't get we determined that the lesbian haircut is a haircut that a lesbian has. So no matter what haircut I have, it won't be a lesbian haircut. So, damn. But yeah, I haven't seen Jimmy in... Actually, I think since college I saw him working at like a Walmart in Greensboro randomly out of the blue one day. And I was like, what? And I hadn't seen him since, but he's back doing hair in Lexington, so go see him. And that'll put me in Lexington so I can go see the parents on Friday, so I won't feel obligated to go this weekend for some reason, because I really need to get stuff done this weekend, and going to see the parents pretty much just eats up a whole day, and I got stuff I need to do. So, in other news, I bought a ring light.
Oh, cool.
Oh, nice.
So, I think, and a new mic arm. Not one of Mike's arms, a new microphone arm. So the plan, sometime this weekend, is to see if I can get all that set up in such a way. It's a mic arm with a pop filter on it. So I can stop having the mic way up here, so I have to have the gain up so it can pick me up, and put it closer to me and turn the gain down so I sound better for like streaming and whatnot. And also get the ring light set up here to hopefully be better for the lighting situation than the two lamps over there with no shade on them. So, yeah. That'll be fun. Ooh, and I finished Lord of the Rings.
Great.
I did not read the appendices. I always think, maybe I'll read some of the appendices. And then by the time I finish the story, I'm like, I'm not reading this crap. I'm sure there's interesting stuff in there that I could totally read and it would be awesome. But it's not presented in story fashion. It's presented in like history textbook fashion. And no.
Yeah, maybe when I was younger I could stand to sit and read that, but
I never could. I've never read any of the appendices.
it's interesting stuff.
I'm sure it is, but I just can't do it.
I remember one of my cousins, I was visiting family somewhere, and she happened to pick up the copy of Return of the King that I had left sitting on the table, and for some reason she thumbed to the back of the book where all that stuff was, and she saw a note about this is the date where Arwen married whatever Aragorn's elven name is, like they yeah, Elefthar, and she didn't know that was an alternate name for Aragorn. And she saw that and she's like, oh no, because she thought that meant that they didn't end up together. And I'm like, no, that's his other name.
I've forgotten how Arwen is in the books not. Like, she's mentioned, I think, twice. I was like, huh.
There was something about whenever I went through it last that I kind of got the impression that she's a little bit like she's highborn, that she's kind of snooty a little bit. It was just one of the things about, because the last I went through it, I listened to the audiobook of it, and when they were going through, it was like she sort of sits there and she's like whenever they were in Rivendell, and she just was there. She didn't she wasn't very chatty or talkative. It was like, oh, and there she is, and that was essentially it for her. She just sort of sat there and was not very uh, talkative or things of that sort.
I think that's more Tolkien didn't write women
Yeah.
than anything else. Like, even Eowyn, I was like, oh, damn. I liked her better in the movie.
Well, I think that was the thing that you have these really interesting characters, or you have these cool characters that in your mind are like, oh, they're so awesome, they're so cool, and then when you actually like read the books and check on, you're like, okay, there's a lot missing here than what I remember. And I think the movies did a really good job of fleshing out the female characters and giving them their their dues.
Yeah, giving them something to do even.
Yeah. Well, and making them interesting, making like giving them a story to make them uh, more relatable,
Hmm.
and fleshing out their characters more.
Well, yeah, because Tolkien treated a lot of these characters as names to say.
Yeah. Well, and I think that is part of, I think what you had said, or is that he wrote Lord of the Rings as this is a story, this is a history, and he all the places, all the names. I mean, he had fleshed out what the name of everything was and all the names of his characters, and based on their names, he made stories about them. And that's why Eowyn and Eomer, what uh, their their names are have to do with people who love horses, and I can't remember if it's Old English or if it's, um, but that's the origin of their names, and so they're part of the Rohirrim because they're horse people. Their name literally says they're horse people. So name came first, story came second.
Like, I love the Lord of the Rings books. Like, I really do. But I fully believe the movies are just better. They have more of that dynamic thing that there were several bits of the books where I had to just slog through it. Usually Frodo and Sam.
Yeah.
Just like, oh my god, I get it. I get it, Tolkien. I get it. It sucks. I get it. Christ, get on with it.
I very much agree with that. I had the pleasure, the movies were coming out while we were in college, and I was bound and determined I was going to read the books before the movies came out. And you're absolutely right that the parts where it was Sam and Frodo, I understand what it was like to go to Mount Doom, because reading those sections felt like I was marching to Mount Doom. Like, oh my gosh, this is just so tedious and boring.
Yeah, luckily
art-
I read them back in, oh god, middle school before I developed a sense of pacing and whatnot.
Hmm.
So, yeah. I did read them again before Return of the King came out. And I remember and I hadn't read them in like a decade at that point. I remember being seriously tripped out that like so much stuff happened in the second book that didn't make it to the movie, because otherwise the last movie would have been like, done.
Yeah.
Especially once you cut out the scouring of the Shire and all that, which is, for the purposes of the bigger story being told, is completely irrelevant. So I was always happy that they left that out. But if you do cut that out, then the last movie is like, if you do it straight from the book but cut out Scouring of the Shire, the last movie is like 40 minutes long. Which means in Peter Jackson terms, it's like an hour and 20 minutes long.
Yeah. I must have finished reading them before the movies came out, because that would have been the only reason why my cousin was surprised. But now I can't put two and two together for when that would have happened.
Hey, JT Huffy, thank you for that 31-month resub. Yay.
The one thing, though, that I did like that was in the books that did not make it to the movies or translate into the movie was whenever they were in the was it not Dwaro Down, but in the after they met Tom Bombadil and they were in the catacombs and
the Barrow Downs.
The Barrow Downs, that's what it was. And then they picked up the swords, and the swords they carried with them through the whole story. And then the sword that was it Pippin stabbed the Witch King with. That sword came from the Barrow Downs, and it's specifically that sword because it came from. He could only be hurt by, people from his area or where he's from, and he was from that area. That the only way he could be hurt was by a sword from that was forged by them, and it just so happened that was the sword he got stabbed with. But you only know about that if you had read the books and realized that they had been carrying those same swords throughout the whole story.
Yeah, and then it becomes more about the coincidence and the blade itself rather than Pippin overcoming his. No, that was Mary. Wasn't that Mary? I think that was Mary.
No, Mary was with the Rohirrim. Oh yeah, you're right because he was. Yeah, you're right.
But it was. Then it becomes more about, like I said, the coincidence and the blade than about Mary overcoming his fear and doing something brave. So it's like it wouldn't matter if he did something brave or not if he didn't happen to have this sword. Oh, shut up, Tolkien. Eat a dick. I got nothing. I'm still working my way through the Masters of the Universe mini comic collection. Just whenever I'm sitting around or bored or something, I grab it and read one of the comics because they're all, they're mini comics, so they're all very short. So reading one is like done.
When was that from?
What do you mean?
Like, when were they printed?
These are the comics that came with the action figures back in the 80s.
Oh, that's right. You told me about finding those a while ago.
Yeah, so they're very old. And it's also really neat to see the evolution from whatever it is they originally intended to sort of kind of going along with the cartoon. Speaking of which, oh my god, the new Masters of the Universe Revelation cartoon was badass.
Yeah, I've heard people talk well about it.
I can assure you, if you haven't seen it, it is not what you expect. And if you think, oh, well, it's not what I expect, it must be this. Nope, it's not that either. Trust me on this. It was really cool. Because it takes some of my favorite things and smashes them together. Like, Masters of the Universe. I grew up on He-Man. Like, straight up. Like, He-Man was my shit when I was a kid. And, oh crap, what did I say in the Discord? My love of going back to places that are familiar to see how they've changed. Like, think Return to Oz. I love Return to Oz because, one, it's just really good and creepy and I love it. But it's also got that going back to a place that we already know and love to see what has happened. Sort of like we're always happy when magic goes back somewhere. Or at least we used to be before that's all they freaking did. Granted, they haven't in a while now, so that's cool.
Yeah.
But, like, when they went back to Ravnica the first time, we were like, yay! And then they went back the second time, and we're like, alright. Guess you gotta sell packs, I guess. I'm actually looking forward to see what happens now that we're going back to Innistrad. Isn't this is back to Innistrad, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because we already went back to Innistrad with the damn Emrakul thing. But anyway, and it does something that's not what you'd expect, but with like purpose. I hate it when someone is, oh, we're changing things up. Why? To change things up? Nah. There's clearly a greater story here, but since there's only 5 episodes, we don't know yet. I enjoyed it thoroughly. It was asked in the Discord, who is this for? And I was like, it's for me. Specifically me. It's like Kevin Smith called me and was like, yo, what you want to do? And I was like, all right, get this. It's just loaded with fan service, too. Like, so many of the toys and characters and vehicles that you never actually saw in the cartoon are just there. And I'm like, yes.
I think in an interview he had said that he wasn't old enough to have the toys, but whenever he was old enough he could have them, he had kind of, he understood sort of the premise, but he came up with his own adventures with the toys, and that's sort of what the show is.
I think it's more that he was too old to have the toys, because he's 50.
Well, I know, but I guess when it first came out, well, no. I don't know. When he was young enough, he couldn't afford the toys because he was, too young to afford them. But now that he's older, he kind of comes up with the adventures that he would have had if he had had the toys. I guess is what it was.
Like, when did the toy line launch?
Well, the show came out in the 80s, so...
No, the originals, damn it. Internet, here we go. 81 and 82. Oh, he would have been like 11 and 12. So, yeah, it's not that he was too old. Damn, they started in 81 and 82? Holy crap. My parents started me with action figures early. Hell yeah, He-Man. But, so yeah, that's the thing I watched.
It's on my list of things to watch.
Yeah, you totally should. After Gothic and I were talking about it while playing games with Bill, Bill went and watched it, and he was like, no, that was good. And Bill didn't have any interest in He-Man at all, because Bill, being slightly younger, is more of a Ninja Turtles kid.
Mm-hmm. I was one of those two.
But he watched it and was like, yeah, it was totally loaded with fan service, and it was really good. And I was like, see? I guess if we go back to our episode on that, this is a legacy sequel. Because, like, it goes in assuming that all the stuff from the original cartoon happened.
Okay.
Unlike She-Ra, which was like a complete revamp from the ground up. And it works better probably if you weren't a She-Ra fan, because so many of the characters have nothing to do with their original incarnation. That it's a complete and utter remake. Reboot, rather. Whereas this, nope. Legacy sequel. All that happened, and now this is happening.
Yeah, the whole She-Ra essentially was sort of like what they did with, like, Voltron. Voltron, I remember loving that when I was a kid. And then when I was old enough that I could, I bought the original series on DVD and then watched, like, I think the first 5 episodes, like, okay, this is not as good as I remember it when I was a kid. But then Netflix did a fantastic job of rebooting it and making it more relevant, giving it a really good story. So I definitely tip my hat to Netflix that they did a fantastic job with Voltron.
I really wish it could have held my interest. I looked when I had Netflix open a couple days ago, I made it to season 2, episode 11. I didn't even make it through the second season before I just lost interest in Voltron. And I don't know why. I think it's because they were taking too long to get to the damn point. They had so many filler episodes, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, alright, we have to find who this knife belongs to or something like that. And then there's 3 episodes of faffing about the rest of the galaxy. And then suddenly that comes up again, 4 episodes later. And I'm like, oh, right, the knife, right. And then there's 3 episodes of faffing about again. And I'm like, all right, I don't care anymore. Like,
There was a great deal of, we're going to take an episode and we're going to, we're working towards this, but we're going to focus on Lance for this this episode. And some shenanigan adventure with him, and then we're gonna do Pidge, and a lot of just that randomness to it. But I want to say right around the 3rd season, because one of the later seasons, as you got further on, the seasons got shorter, and they got much, like they were getting where they were going much faster, and the story had picked up quite a bit.
yeah, and I think that sort of thing is one of the things I appreciate more about like the streaming service shows, is that they don't have to fill out a 24 episode season or a 50 some episode season like with the original Masters of the Universe. Like and they don't have to reset back to the status quo every single week. But a lot of the Voltron episodes sort of felt like they were. Like, a thing I brought up in the Discord is, like, we had this big revelation about one of the characters. It was Pidge, by the way. And then, in all the rest of the time I watched, that was never brought up again. Ever. Not even referenced. Nothing. And I was like, okay. You'd think... Okay, I'm just gonna say it. It's revealed that Pidge is actually a girl. And you go, gasp! And then nobody ever mentions it again. But no one ever used, like, pronouns to... It's just referred to Pidge as Pidge. I'm like... You'd think that...
Guess that's how they kept it as surprise.
I guess, but like, if you're watching, it's not like this was on network television. If you missed that episode, you didn't know. Like, you're watching it on streaming. You've watched that episode. So have that be part of the continuity. But it just was, like I said, in the part that I saw, it was just never mentioned again. Or ever referred to, or anything. And I was like, huh. No, early on, before the big revelation, there was a lot of gendering of Pidge, because you're supposed to assume that Pidge was a boy. Because Pidge was a boy in the original. I'm talking to chat now. Pidge was a boy in the original. And so you just assume that's not a thing that changed. But then after the revelation, it's like Pidge is only vaguely there. Like, when Pidge is on screen, then Pidge is on screen and part of the show. But if Pidge isn't on screen, there's no Pidge. I was like, this is a really weird thing. And that sort of gnawed at the back of my head. So, yeah. I don't know. It just bothered me. And it was like they were resetting back to the status quo, like the old shows used to. There's a lot of story based around Pidge as the story goes on. Oh, good. Because hopefully that sort of thing gets brought up. Because, like, what? But, like, it's not even when, where's Pidge? Go get her. There was not even that. Nothing to show that happened. And it just, I don't know. Like I keep saying, it just bothered me that suddenly no one said anything. And yeah, at some point I am going to pick it back up. I might have to start over. Because the first season was really good. And then the second season, there's a lot of faffing about. And it just didn't hold my interest. I think I also started watching She-Ra while I was watching Voltron. And that was a mistake because She-Ra is better in every conceivable way. So it's going to make Voltron look kind of dumb by comparison. And I think that might have been why it didn't hold my interest. Yeah.